Hello. I was wondering if I might trouble you for a cup of strong black coffee, and in the process engage you with an anecdote of no small amusement.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Nerd Herder. Here where we talk about the things we love, and sometimes that's not always just Star Wars. We always love Star Wars, but sometimes we love other things. You know, it's a very polyamorous relationship with these fandoms, and so
you can be sci-fi.
we
it's
are
okay, baby.
We're swapping fandoms for this week, but bringing you the same level of okay content you've come to know and love from us.
Ooh, it's fair to meddling. Ooh,
it is just good.
It is a hand wavy gesture.
How are you doing, Boop? As I distract you from promoting our podcast.
I had an excellent day today because we started this morning by walking into Spirit Halloween.
Yes,
and
we
you
did.
Gave me a budget.
I did.
And I was over the freaking moon.
Yeah.
And just delighted with my day after that.
Overdue. We've been meaning to make it out that way. And what better day than when, under severe weather watch.
Oh boy.
As you do.
There's a hurricane.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Great day today. Shout out to patron and friend Brennan Marr, winner of Podathon giveaway. I'm never gonna let that go because we lost our minds for you, Brennan, when that happened, because we're like, we know that guy. We knew a lot of the guys and gals and them's
and the friends
mentioned, but we were very proud to hear that you won.
You had a good one the other day that was like all inclusive, and I don't remember what it was.
Guys, buys, and I don't know. It was something.
I think it was guys, buys, gays, and theys.
I don't remember. We're all about the inclusivity here at Nerd Herder. Everybody is welcome, except that one bunny man. But that's another story.
We ain't doing that
another day.
We ain't doing that.
So, Boop.
Hi.
I really love our intro.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's a
good intro.
It's a good bop. It's very catchy. Gets stuck in your head. Get you hyped for stuff.
Is it gonna get us taken down as a stream though?
Oh no, never. But it's not as good of a bop as a oldie but goodie from nearly 30 years ago.
C-Bot.
No. Roll the clip.
Teleport to us 5 overbearing and over-emotional humans.
No! Not that! Not teenagers! What's happening? This is too weird.
Welcome, humans! I am Zordon, and this planet is under attack. I have brought you here to save it. Behold, the keys to your power. Those are your power morphs. Jason, bold and powerful. You shall command the Tyrannosaurus dinosaur. Zachary, you are clever and brave. You shall command the Mastodon dinosaur. Kimberly, graceful and smart. The pterodactyl dinosaur shall be yours. Billy, patient and wise. You shall command the powerful Triceratops dinosaur. Trini, fearless and agile. The saber-toothed tiger dinosaur will be under your command. When you need help, you need only to turn to the power of the dinosaurs, which will come together to form the mighty Megazord.
Go,
Intro doesn't get better than that. Oh wait, it does, because we're
What's up?
joined by none other than Chris Ryans and Kevin Keverino, my buddy, my pal,
Out of the back room.
out of the back room
Yet
again.
again. We showered him. Well, we hosed him down in the backyard.
Yes,
Deloused.
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. We gave him a sheep dip.
Oh my goodness. Well, if you're not happy to be here after that, I mean, it doesn't get better, because that was, man, that still gets me so hyped to this day. It's hard to beat.
Yep.
But
Fun fact, real quick.
hit me.
The guy who composed that music and made that music, Ron Wasserman, released an entire album of it on Spotify.
Yep.
All of the music from the series.
Really?
All of it. And I listen to it constantly.
Yep.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I forgot how long ago it was, but yeah, he redid all the music and released the instrument. I'm an instrumental kind of like, I love listen to instrumentals.
Yeah.
And he with every song, and I love all of Wasserman's songs that he did for Rangers.
Man.
And I was like, I wish we had instrumentals of those, and he put those on there. And I was like,
Yeah,
It's amazing.
thank you so much. So good.
and I mean, gosh, there's such a running succession rate of intros for Power Rangers. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
you know, like, as much as I gush about this one, and I do love the original, because like, it's one thing later on to be like, oh, wouldn't this be epic? But they started with this, like, from the get-go. They were smacking you in the face with this awesomeness. So how do you like get better than that? For me, you do with literally technically third, but next series with Zeo. Because for me, man, stronger than before. Like, I mean, like, oh my gosh, it's in the song. They're just like,
Listen, you could
yes,
climb a damn
you
mountain.
get it.
Oh, Zeo theme song.
I could do so much.
It is
I could do
so
so much.
empowering.
Oh,
I am
yes.
not embarrassed to
No pun
admit that song, the Zeo song, is in my training playlist, and I have lifted to that before. I have no shame in saying that, and it has helped me PR. I'm just going to say that before. I have done better with that music.
Hey, look, listen, it's gotten me willing to work out, and that's an accomplishment, because I don't have that kind of body.
Oh, come on. Listen,
Oh my
get you in
gosh.
a crop top. You are hot. Okay. We've had this conversation many a time before. Kev can back me up on this.
Yes.
You would be hot in a crop top.
I'm the guy
Yes.
Jason kills to get his mask. Okay,
Incorrect.
so
No.
deep
Mesh
cut
crop
right
top. It's
there.
happening next stream.
I do have a
I have
Naruto mask
several.
right next to me, so there's like been a lot of talk in our household about mesh shirts,
True.
more than I'm comfortable with. But you know, if ever there was a time for it to happen, it's now.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm just thinking about stuff now.
Oh my gosh. Well, think about Power Rangers, because that's
will.
what brings us together.
8 minutes. It took 8 minutes to go completely off the rails.
Hey, look, I knew what I was doing when I put this round table together. I was like, we're gonna have us a gay old time, and maybe we'll talk about Power Rangers.
No. I'm not gonna do that yet. I'm gonna wait till we get to the movie.
Every time you're here is a gay old time.
Thank
Boo.
you.
But yeah, so
Representation.
I mentioned to Chris just before this, but it's really fate that it's today. Not really, it's nothing special, but some really cool Power Rangers stuff happened today thanks to Hasbro PulseCon, where they just talk about all the stuff. They do all the strategies and things to get your money for the foreseeable future, and darn it, it's working. With great franchises like Transformers and Power Rangers on today's roster, come to find out, there are big plans in place for next year's 30th anniversary of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Let that breathe.
30 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so this episode was supposed to happen a month and a half ago for Power Ranger Day, because that's August. Like, of course it would. But for whatever reason, I don't even remember, it got pushed back, and yet here we are. And so we get to come off of the big high that Power Rangers is still alive and thriving in the year of our Lord 2022 into 2023. That's exhilarating for me. I don't know what it does for you guys and your giblets, but that's exciting.
So huge, man. I mean, like, my history with this franchise literally goes back to the premiere. Like, like I have vivid memories of the premiere. Like, I watching the premiere episode, and like you said, like the music and
Yeah.
the visuals, like I was 5 at the time. I was all of 5 years old, and I was just jaw on the floor. Sorry, Chris. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to trigger an existential crisis 10 minutes in.
Born yet.
We're gonna make you feel old this one.
I'm sorry,
Chris.
man. I'm sorry. But
I
like
was -2 years old.
but like from the jump, man, like I was hooked, you know? And like I got out of it for a little while, right? Because everyone kind of goes through that phase, maybe that like, oh, you're too old for that stuff, right? You're too cool for that stuff, whatever. But around my mid-20s, man, it blew up again, and I was just like dove right back into it, and I've clearly never looked back since.
True.
And you're a better man for it.
I agree.
I'm certain.
It's impossible for you to look back. You've got a giant logo behind you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, don't look now. Well, put a pin in that. We will be walking down memory lane here in a bit, because it was one of those things that, like you and I have talked about that, Kev, and like there's so many things intrinsically linked in our childhood, in our memory to this. Chris, I'm sure same for you, ripe age of 54 when this came out, and
You can't remove him from the stream. It's his show.
I'm gonna use that.
I'll show you. Hold on a second.
That was such a polite burn. That sounded so polite when you delivered that.
You look great for some.
175.
I graduated high school in 1993.
Oh,
so yeah. But yeah, like, not to go too deep into history, but like there was a show when I was a kid. Maybe I was like 9, 10 years. No, maybe like 11, 12 years old. There's a show called Night Flight. They did like music videos and other little things that like it was a late night show. And on it they showed they dubbed episodes of this Sentai called Dynaman.
Yeah.
And so that was my first introduction into Sentai and all that. So I never grew up as far as like, what I took in for entertainment. So I was watching all the Fox Kids stuff. I'm in high school, like late high school and all that stuff. And they showed commercials for like, this upcoming show, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The moment I saw it, I was like, oh, they're doing the Dynaman thing. Oh, that's cool. Because that worked for me. I was a kid and I loved it. So I'm like, it's going to work for them.
Yeah.
I did not watch the premiere. I think I knew it was a thing. I didn't really watch it that much or at all up until like maybe like mid-season. And I noticed that they were like, the American actors in there, and they were throwing in martial arts. And that's what hooked me into the Power Rangers show.
Okay.
Because I love seeing the martial arts. So that got me hooked in. And it and that made me, like I said, I knew about Sentai beforehand, but I didn't have a access to any of it. This is back in the day when you had to do VHS trading. VHSs were medium that we watched movies and such on back then. You had to rewind tape.
They were like cassettes.
They were like cassettes.
You know what? You see cassettes were
music.
Insane technology.
Oh my god. We used to have individual devices for every function your smartphone currently does, youngsters.
Yeah. Anyone else ever hear the sound of a VHS like in a movie or show, and then you just get sad?
Well, no. So reverse for me.
Another gray.
I actually like get transported. I was talking about this recently to a friend of mine, where it's like I have that the way he put it, and it's perfect. Like I have a Ratatouille moment with that. Like there are certain things like the sound of a VHS tape. Certain smells, whatnot, like that transport me back to my childhood, and like very vividly. So
the sound of a lightsaber flicking, that's my Ratatouille moment, because I've been hit with so many of those. More of a PTSD
more. I was gonna say, more of the negative side, but no.
Please continue.
That's called trauma.
Yes.
Plenty to be had here. Well, yeah. So that really is where we get the start of Power Rangers. So obviously, with something that's been going on very nearly 30 years, yeah, absolutely. I figured we'd all have some very vivid memory and nostalgia for the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But it's a lot to look back because I can't look at the original and not think of all the other ones that I enjoyed after and whatnot. Because I,
Oh, sure.
I, you know, I this was my entryway. This was my original trilogy for sure. But the Phantom Menace is still my favorite. And like Lost
Right.
Galaxy is my favorite Power Ranger series.
Mm.
And so it's one of those things where it's like it's touched by so many other memories that it has to span the really entire lifetime of Power Rangers.
Absolutely.
And so before we do walk more down memory lanes, we're also making Brad in the chat feel old, apparently.
I don't care. I don't care. He deserves to be sad for the rest of his life.
Brad, you're only 1 year older than me. Shut up.
Yeah, see, put him in his
Get outta
place,
here.
man. Don't let him talk like that.
Have me feeling bad for you. You were the good boy on last week's. Now get out
Make
of
you
here.
feel old. Please.
Can we
Right?
ban him real quick? Can we just kick him out?
Oh my
Absolutely
God, he's
not.
gonna pull a Scotty. Brennan coming in. Books were a thing. We used paper.
It's true.
You know,
It's true.
Just cut your hands. Just cut your fingies.
right. Concrete jungles weren't the original. Anyway, so yes, how Power Rangers began. I'm going to do a big injustice in trying to briefly surmise it, but basically in 1986, Haim Saban, did what so many had already done before him and went to Japan, saw that they're doing really good for themselves with
they are.
content that makes money off of children. Not that kind though, but like it looks at that and it's just like, you know what? I want in on that. 1986, we'd had a lot happen by now with basically exporting Japanese media in an American-ish package.
Ish.
It was very successful. Chris, we had you on a while ago talking about Transformers. Very much the same thing. At this point, it's a very rehashed model. And so
They put a white man in Godzilla.
they did. Raymond Burr. And so the crazy thing is to find out that Haim Saban was not the first one to try and get his mitts on Super Sentai. So if you hear us talk about Super Sentai, for those listening, that's the original Power Rangers. Really, that's what Power Rangers kind of Frankenstein's itself from.
Yeah.
Because and this is something interesting, if you like digging into this kind of history of film and television, you'll be blown away by how technical the work was. It wasn't as easy as like Godzilla. Shout out. It wasn't
Mecha Godzilla.
Yes, but for the family. I didn't have a Dragon Zord shirt.
Close
so
enough.
I figured this was close.
Close enough. That's what happens when I blow the flute. You get Mecha Godzilla.
Exactly.
That made me giggle.
Thanks, Kev. Blew the flute out of tune, and now we've got
It goes all awry.
But what happens when Lizzo blows the flute? Apparently, we just summon racists. Anyway,
she's amazing. That's what happens.
Freaking heck, man. I love Lizzo.
She stunts on all of them. That's what happens.
Godzilla, you just dub over. You literally just get the script, get random Americans to read the lines, sometimes the same four, so it's not even really differentiating the voices.
You change some words because those words don't translate.
Right. Like peace and no.
Nuclear disaster becomes nuclear fun times.
With Power Rangers, though, there was a lot of nip tuck to make this happen, especially for 3 seasons. When you find out that the White Ranger is from a completely different series,
he's a 9-year-old boy.
Yeah, right. You see what they did to Turbo? Yeah, Japan did it better several years before.
Yep.
He was actually a likable child.
Oh yeah, that poor kid.
Sorry. Justin.
Cole was kind of an idiot. Well, not an idiot, but he was a little bit of a dick too. He's kind of a little pervy, for a 10-year-old.
Very of his culture. But anyway, So Haim Saban gets his wish granted, which is funny because apparently years before, Stan Lee actually tried to do this with a Super Sentai series, and it
I
didn't
didn't
happen.
know
So
that.
Marvel almost had Power Rangers, which is pretty cool to think about,
Mhm.
especially now in the context. Because Chris, like I'm sure you know, like Boom Comics have been blowing it out
Ooh.
the water with
Oh,
Power
yeah.
Rangers content.
I can't take. Maybe I don't know if I don't know if you want to touch on that
Sure,
later,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah. The Boom series has been fantastic.
Phenomenal stuff. So comics have kind of been outdoing TV media and definitely the films. Sorry to say, but
What are you
you know,
talking about? Billy from Stranger Things is in the new movie with
even
his
he
big
can't
blue
save
eyes and weird little mustache.
even he can't save it. But
Oh man, that's where we're gonna differ. I love that movie.
It was great.
Really?
It was great.
Oh
I
yeah.
really wanted to see more, and
Oh
then it
yeah.
got shit on.
I will
Yeah.
agree on that. I was left wanting more.
Yes.
It was not. I've seen bad. We've seen bad. We like bad. We don't like bad. Like there's a long list of movies we could talk about. This isn't necessarily on the bad list,
Mhm.
for sure.
It's different.
Very different.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. If it hadn't just been put out there to stand alone, um, I think with follow up, with more time, it would have gone better places for me. But it's one of those things where it's just like, oh, that happened. It's not as
Yeah.
bad as Dragon Ball Evolution. Like,
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
Nothing
we
is.
don't even speak
no,
that name on this
Yeah, no.
podcast.
no.
Well,
Go
it's,
watch from Rock Out was so
yeah,
bad.
there are other movies that are as bad as Dragon Ball Evolution. I think you know what I'm.
We agreed that we're not going to bring it up.
Okay. I'm sorry.
The Mortal Kombat sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Oh,
Is that what you're
Oh,
talking about?
that's
Oh.
so bad it's good.
Yes.
Oh
It's so
no!
bad it
Dude.
loops around and
Oh,
becomes
come
good.
on! All right, we're
I
gonna have
love Annihilation, but
Yeah.
it's terrible. I watched
Yes.
it again like a few years ago. I was like, oh, this is bad.
these are
Yeah.
your people.
Love it.
These are your people, Boop.
They are.
Yeah.
my
I mean,
Apparently.
it's
I
so
love-
bad, but like, and you recognize that it is bad, but you're like, it's like watching a car wreck. You're not going to turn away. You got to see what happens.
See,
I don't
that's
really
how I
have that
feel
much
about the
martial arts going on. No, I gotta watch it.
that's
I
how I
laughed
feel about
so
the
hard watching
first
that
one.
movie.
Well,
Really?
okay,
Really?
we had help getting through that movie.
That's very true.
That is important information.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
My screen's not frozen. I am aghast.
What?
Like the first Mortal Kombat movie?
The first Mortal Kombat movie
John.
is so bad it's good.
Those
Yes.
are
Oh, okay. You know what?
$500
Okay. Who?
What did you?
I-
Oh, you thought I was
Crisis?
saying?
Yes. Crisis
Oh, no, 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 no,
Averted.
no.
No, no, no.
That one is so bad it's good. I
Okay.
love the first one.
Can accept that.
It has a place in my heart. I mean, Ray Park is in it, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You don't see his face.
Robin Shue was like my guy
Yes.
forever
He
as
was
a
Liu
child.
Kang for
Yep.
a generation.
So I think it's like, okay, we're there.
Yeah.
You've got my heart, and then you stepped backwards for me. I was like, ugh,
Fair.
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah.
So I will put Power Rangers 2017
Mm-hmm.
on the level of Mortal Kombat, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. I can accept that. We can move on.
All right. Yeah, 'cause there is a show. No, well, anyway, condensing that down, basically, Haim Saban gets his wish. He gets Power Rangers. They literally ship over the reused costumes, all of that, along with the films, and basically say, have at it. There's a really interesting working relationship created there, where literally they get to make a new show with existing content.
Yeah.
So unlike Transformers, where it's like, hey, can we take your toys and make a show for it? Unlike others, where it's like, hey, can we take your thing and release it into American states with American language? No, this is take our scraps, make something with it, and we get a banger. Like,
Yeah.
against all odds, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
What they were able to do with the setup. Like, if you just take the premise of that history and what it could have been, the travesty and the just the financial poor decision that could have been, and it turns around on its head, and I mean blows shelves out with merchandise. It's the
Oh,
big
yeah.
seller for 3 years
Mhm.
in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Like it would be going on 30 years later using the
Yeah.
same techniques and everything. Like, it's crazy to think about.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was everywhere.
Mm.
From 93 to like 96, it was just everywhere. Like you couldn't go anywhere and not encounter it. It was like at recess, there were kids roundhousing each other in the face. Like, I know, I seen it. Like it happened all the time. Yeah.
I was one of the kids.
No. I was far too scared of social interaction to even try to do that. But I watched from afar.
Middle. Yes, we know.
Yeah.
Well, like, but on my side, like I remember the schoolyard arguments of who got to be the Red Ranger, because that was the thing,
man.
right?
Yeah.
Like that was the thing. For if you were a long-standing youngster fan of this, like it was always the Red Ranger before Tommy strode in with his color paletted shirt and long hair, and a girthy, it was all about Jason. It was all about Jason.
That's true. That's true.
And so
that's true.
Yeah, it's always been the Red Ranger for me. I don't know if anybody else has their pick. That's a wonderful question for the panel. If you got your Ranger, your typical color, or your standby.
It is the Green Ranger for me. I'm only wearing white to I don't know, not be that predictable.
After Labor Day.
Yeah, I know. I'm a horrible human being, but hey, here I am. But yeah, for me, it was the Green Ranger because first and foremost, my favorite color is green, right? So that was easy. He had the coolest suit. I mean, come on, you can't compete with that shield, man.
I mean,
you just can't.
The pauldron is, man.
But
it made its rounds though.
It did.
Oh yeah, it did, and that was the coolest part, right? Because like not only did he have the pauldron, but he had the coolest helmet, dude. The coolest design of the helmet with the dragon teeth on the little fin on top. He had the best weapon. It was a dagger that he could like play tunes on.
Yeah.
Like while he was commanding this giant Godzilla murder robot, he's just over there playing the flute.
Yeah,
like
man.
it was. Come on, man.
And
like
he had his own theme song.
Yes, and it's a banger. It is fire.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, that's the thing is like that. You have made it when your theme song competes with the show's theme song.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I mean, is of course like when you were back then when Green with Evil was premiering, like you had to wait 5 weeks for that entire arc to resolve itself, right? And it was 5 weeks of watching this one guy give all 5 Rangers the business. Like he kicks them out of their own Zord at one point. He grows huge. Rita grows him, and he just like starts kicking the Megazord. Like, and then at the end of that, I mean, we're all Star Wars fans. We love redemption arcs. At the end, he gets a redemption arc, And then for like the rest of the first season, he's the guy they call when it's getting too hairy. Send in Tommy.
Yep, and then the movie makes it official that he's the leader now.
Oh
yeah, he's Tommy.
And then he finally gets his upgrade to red later in Zeo, but it's whatever.
That's true.
But no, like before we move on from that, I'm big on your point about the Green Ranger because my thing with Tommy's always been he's gotten such good storylines. He's gotten such good character development. Because really, like with the original 5, like we're just told, here are your heroes. Like it's very quickly thrust upon, and there you go. With Tommy, we get time to really steep and get attached, I think. And so that was a big thing I know for me why I really enjoyed him. I mean, they had a whole VHS extended special on him becoming the White Ranger and everything. And like
I remember that.
Oh my gosh, that's like so cool. I
remember that.
Yeah, like Tommy himself is very special, Ranger or no Ranger, to that. So never a bad time to be like, Tom. And again, Mecha Godzilla Megazord, like come on,
exactly.
The Dragon Zord is epic, still one of the best.
The razor tail, finger missiles. I mean, come on,
everything. Oh my goodness. Chris, what about you on favorite Rangers, favorite colors
from MMPR?
Classic, but anywhere, yeah.
Tommy is going to be Tommy's all time. He's all time.
Okay.
Like I dug his his look, his style of martial arts. just his whole presence on the show. Like he just stood out from everyone else. And he was definitely my all-time favorite Ranger. Like I said, like I was watching for the martial arts, and he was head and shoulders above everyone else on that show as far as the martial arts go. As good as Austin St. John was, as good as Walter Jones was, as good as Tweet Trang was.
Yeah.
He was on another level.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he had that like Ataru style of martial arts. He was airborne all the time.
Yeah.
It was great. But
Well,
like
it's one thing to do it, it's another thing to look good. Like that, being a martial arts film fan, like you come to recognize that a little bit. It's not just about doing it, it's about doing it and looking good.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean it has to be necessarily stagey, but if you can land it and land it in style, even better.
He was like, when it comes to fight choreography and all that, there's a lot that goes into it, not just doing the moves, but it's your passion behind the moves. It's your facial expressions and Shakia and everything like that. All that comes into play, and he killed it. Like, especially when he came back after Return of an Old Friend.
Thunder?
Yes.
No, in Return of an Old Friend, like when he came back, after he lost his powers, the whole show had changed at that point. And just like the production value, the music, like Ron Wasserman's music really kicked in at that point. The fight choreography, like Jeff Pruitt was doing the fight choreography for the show, and it really kicked into another gear, and put the fight choreography on another level. And for with Jason Frank, it was like the perfect mix. Like I was like, whenever you see Putties and Jason Frank, I know Jeff Pruitt's in the mix doing the fight choreography. I'm like, it's going to be a dope episode. Here we go.
Let's get the glamour shot.
I mean, and I got to say that because like I was rewatching the seasons not too long ago, and I was around season 2 because season 2 is my favorite Mighty Morphin season, bar none. And I was watching some of the fight scenes, and I was like, man, like this is really good for a kids show. Like this is movie quality fight choreography, and like the fact that the stunt team and all of that team around them can make those actors look as good as they did in a kids show is a huge testament to the amount of passion and work that they were putting into it.
Well, a quick callback to the brief history of it. Again, when 80% of your show is just done for you, like a lot of the special effects, the American Power Rangers company got to benefit from Japan throwing it out there and getting good at that. Here, I feel like it's appropriately using the thing. They didn't phone it in just because they had to have the American folks on scene for all right, let's go, and then cut to Japanese footage. Like they really did stretch the dollar for what they were going to do and accomplish some of the things that I think we're still praising them for to this day. Because I remember when my other mother was in town, I don't even know why. I think we just saw it was on Netflix.
Because it's a great movie or a great show.
And it started with Green with Evil. Because I was just like, all right, like let's get you here. I think you're gonna like Tommy because she ain't dead yet, as she says.
She did.
And so, but yeah, I mean, same thing to where it's like it's still great story, great choreography, great effects. It's like it's all still good. And I think that's from having a good foundation with the Super Sentai footage and series and building on that well. I mean, Saban was brilliant with being able to accomplish a lot with a little and being able to like work the Jenga tower of business. Sure. He and his company might not have always made the best choices with things, but nonetheless, he knew how to get things done and get us ultimately this show and many more after it. So
yeah.
Boo.
Yes.
Favorites?
You know the answer to this.
Do I?
Yes, you do, because I don't shut up about it.
But the people don't.
No, it's not. So, like you guys.
Billy.
Tommy.
Always why? Because they're gay? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's a fair assumption. Billy became a favorite much later. But that's actually a very good point there, Chris. You have no idea how much of an easier you made this story. So I have 3 older brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and they were way into Power Rangers, of course, because they're boys in the 90s.
Right.
Um,
As you do.
and I only caught like, snatches of episodes here and there. And my first crush ever, I remember it so clearly, was Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
My second crush ever was Kimberly.
Kimberly was an awakening for a lot of us.
She's so pretty.
It's Amy Jo
So
Johnson, man.
pretty.
What you gonna
I
say?
just-
Of course.
Wow. And that's the entire story. I like Tommy
Yeah.
because of his ponytail, and he looks like he can play guitar.
Well, here's the thing. Both of them have great hair too. So I
They
think
That's
do. Is hair just my thing?
You know
maybe.
what? We've discovered something. We've discovered something.
Right. No. Well, it's funny though, because like just before this, Kev, you said something on Twitter that I really loved about David Youst,
Mhm.
Billy's actor, like
Yes.
that he was the heart of the original team and everything.
Absolutely.
And that was such a perfect way to put it, I think, because he was absolutely that sort of almost paternal one. He was the one thinking about everyone's safety or thinking ahead and
Those
Yeah.
outfits,
like
too.
taking care of everybody, right? It was
Yeah.
always him that was thinking of the Rangers of the team.
Exactly. And he was the
whatnot.
problem solver. Like whenever
Yeah.
there was a crisis, it was Billy that solved the problem
Dude
every
made
time.
inventions. So like I don't know how like NASA
Yeah.
didn't like pick this kid up.
Right.
Yeah. He made
right.
a Volkswagen Bug fly.
Yeah.
Like,
He
come
made an
on.
How did the
unbaby
government
machine.
how did they miss that?
Right.
And
Exactly.
not pick that kid up. Like, yeah.
I-
I'm
Well,
not-
that's the whole fallacy of the whole show, right?
Right,
Like every day this one little city is getting attacked by monsters and everyone's just like, this is just normal life. Like
I'll go.
Right.
whoever's in the
Where's the
bunker
government?
business is making a killing.
Here's the thing. At least Japan was like, it's a whole country that Godzilla's worried about, right? Like
Exactly.
at least he's got a full playground. They've got a sandbox.
He's got so
Exactly.
many temples to knock over.
Exactly. And then like Rita was never like, hey, let's go to Modesto. Let's hit that one. Like there's no Rangers in Stockton. Like,
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Angel Grove is the only
That's the only way to go.
epicenter for this
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah. And I will say the 2017 film had a perfect explanation for that because the CEO crystal was in Angel Grove.
CEO.
Ah,
You know how to get me, buddy. Yes.
I know.
I will say I also love the Jade twist. I'll say about that. If nobody's seen that movie, watch it. It
you
does
talking
have good potential, and again, that's part of my thing with it. Right? It's
Yeah.
not all out. I don't like it. It's just like I want to like it, and I need more, and I don't
I
have
know.
more.
Look, I mean, Brad and I did an entire show about that, and like it was just me like sad because we'll never get to see what that was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like there was, especially with like I know we're discussing over Tommy here, but like there was potential for that arc because what you never really get in Green with Evil.
Yeah.
You never really
sure.
get like the fact like this dude has to reckon with everything that he did because it's a kid's show, right? It's just
Mhm.
like, hey, you're good now, right?
They do in the comics.
I was,
yeah.
This is why it's like they I love how they and I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut you off, Kevin.
No,
But
no, go.
I love how in the comics they touched on that and how there's still members of the team that do not trust him.
Mhm.
Even though he it was a spell and all that kind of stuff, and and they still don't it's the fact that there's still lingering mistrust. Like Zach, I think didn't trust him too well.
Yeah.
I think maybe Trini as well. Like they were a little apprehensive with him. Jason was all in, whereas and Tommy still had trouble dealing with what he had did,
Right.
even though it was under Rita's influence.
Yeah.
Right. And that would have been great to explore within that universe. That would have been amazing.
Well, and that's where like I have to shout out the comics as well because it's one of those things. If you're a long-term fan like we are and whatnot, or if you're wanting to enhance it for a rewatch or first watch, what a lot of those comics do really well is exist between the cracks of a lot of big moments we know and love. And so it's one of those things where it's like I'm like they did actually an interview with the writer for Boom Comics for Hasbro, and he was like, I'm not going to redo what's done so well, right? Like I'm
Right.
going to enhance around it. He's going to get
Right.
more context. And so there's so many stories within those comics that do that, where it's like, if you've ever, now not ever, they've only just hit 100 issues with this stuff, but like if you ever wondered on some of the biggest points, like where it goes, what happens next, what happened before, the comics have probably touched it,
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you
So
got to hand it to them because like that's the Boom comics are really what's keeping I think some of us older fans plugged into it because it's
yeah,
giving us stuff that speaks to us a little more, right?
yeah,
Like Power Rangers should always have its foundation within children's programming, right?
for
Because
sure.
like above the awesome martial arts and the visuals and the music and all the stuff that kind of hooked us with kids as kids, the thing that those shows did so well is they sometimes not so subtly they gave us lessons, right,
Mm,
at a very fundamental age in our lives. And I think that was a standard thing with television programming for children at the time. Like there was like a Federal Communications Administration, something like that kind of edict that
yeah,
shows had to have some kind of educational element. But like I often credit shows like Power Rangers for helping me develop my moral and ethical center, right?
Absolutely.
Because it was very like, here's how you be a good person and a good citizen. Like, we're going to go pick up trash in Angel Grove Park this week,
Right.
And like that's where the foundation should be. But as your fan base gets older, you got to throw some red meat their way to kind of give them something that's a little more mature and a little more to their sensibilities, but still honoring that little kid that fell in love with it,
yeah,
and that's a challenge with Power Rangers, right? Like I think that's one of the things with the 2017 movie that they had to contend with is how do you take this thing that is almost like completely engineered for children and mature it and then actually make it something that's engaging for a larger audience, and that's even the challenge moving forward with that guy Jonathan Entwistle. He's kind of taking the Power Rangers franchise into its next phase. It's a huge task, but I don't know where I was going with that, but I'm really excited.
Hey,
absolutely.
that's more than enough for this show.
Yeah. Like I forgot, it was like 10 years ago or something like that. There was a G.I. Joe animated movie called G.I. Joe Resolute.
Mm-hmm.
And this and like me and my friends, like we love this because it grew up with us.
Mm,
It was very much mature, it was deep, it was layered, and it didn't shy away from any of the violence or anything like that. And that's not like the linchpin for me is the violence, but the story, the characters, everyone seemed much more grown up, and like the storytelling was very much grounded and matured, and that's what I loved about these comics is that they're doing things that and granted, like I said, I wasn't a child when Rangers came out, so the stuff that they're doing in the comics is the stuff I've been looking for 30 years.
right.
Yeah.
So I've just been so glad with what they've done, how they handled the Zords, how they handled their relationships. A lot of times, they don't get along with Zordon, and the fact that we get even into his backstory and we learn more about him and the Warriors of Eltar, and man,
It just goes places.
so
Well, it's one of those things where it's like it tickles the same part. It's just that it takes different things to tickle it. Like it's not just shut up.
I love that analogy. I love it. I love it. Tickle me more.
This is what happens on live shows. Okay, I don't get time to make this eloquent.
I was pretty eloquentized.
But like it's I mean, like with Star Wars, the reason it's so rewatchable is because it does the same things it did to me as a kid that made me awe and wonder. It's just that it's different things giving me that awe and wonder. It's not just the lightsaber fights, it's not just the dog fights. Now it's the big character moments. It's the emotional tolls of characters and whatnot. So it's like
It's the droids.
it's the same feeling, but then not. It's the same stuff, but it's not.
Yeah, I
And
know.
so if you go back to the shows like we're talking about, yeah, it's still a fun romp, but like for it doesn't hit as deeply. Like it's gone as deep as it's gonna go. To go deeper than that, new stuff.
Boop and I are on the
has
same
to be
wavelength over
introduced.
here.
How many innuendos
melded.
can we get?
Oh,
So,
God. I'm gonna start a counter.
Yes, Saban
Sure.
got his wish. 1993, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers hits. We get 3 seasons of it, and it's a wild ride if you stick out for all of it. Because technically, in the middle there's also a movie.
You get Bulk and Skull.
It's just
Oh,
kind of
man.
insane. And that's what started this 30-year journey, was a guy being like, hey, business opportunity, and jumping right on that to create something that was a fresh take on something that's existed well before we got our hands on it. I think
Oh, yeah.
the series used for Mighty Morphin really predominantly was like the 16th or 15th series or something like that. Like in Super Sentai, like Super Sentai had been going long time.
Oh,
The
okay.
concept of Super Sentai.
All right. Sentai has been going on since the year I was born. So this was
74 years, folks. I love you.
You know what?
I hope you know.
No.
Look what you've done.
I've turned him into Zordon.
Is Chris? Hold on a second.
Wait, now I just
Is
want
Chris our Zordon?
now I want Zordon to just just with Chris's face on it and just boobs.
Rangers, boobs.
I'm texting
Behold
that
the viewing globes.
now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, you guys are a family show, so I have to keep most of what's going through my brain to myself.
Text
This is us trying. Anyway, so yeah, Super Sentai.
Yeah, it's like
has been going a while.
Yeah. And this one, I think it was the 17th or 18th. Something was weird with the numbering for the Sentai series, but yeah, this was 1992, so yeah, probably 17th season. G-Ranger, Kyoryu Sentai G-Ranger was that original series name.
Yeah. And so it, like, by the time, like, it could have very easily, and in a lot of cases it was, because Saban was in a long list of people that came with this idea. He just had the right timing, the right pitch, or the right stuff, I guess, and it got done. And
for 30 years it got done.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Other than a brief reprieve, and that's mostly because he sold it, Disney bought it, then Disney didn't want to do anything with it, and then he bought it back. There's this weird pause in new content there until 2010, I think, was it, with Samurai?
Yeah,
maybe.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think you're about right.
You'd think I'd look this stuff up.
Good enough for radio, man.
Professional, you know. Oh my gosh! But
I think the Disney years, outside of no, all of them were good. I thought they were the best years, the best written, the best sets, probably the best acting too.
Wow, Chris, way to be a Disney
well,
show.
how many did they actually do? It was like 3 series.
Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD.
Did they do Overdrive?
Mystic Force, yeah, Operation Overdrive. Okay, that one was terrible.
Yeah, but it was the return of Adam.
Jungle Fury.
I will say that was one good thing Overdrive
that
did.
was the one.
Which
Although
one was the one with the guy that was a cop, but also he had a dog head?
SPD.
Okay.
SPD. Yeah.
Why?
Oh my!
Yeah.
He's an alien. Like it's a.
But why is he a cop?
Because everybody's well, not everybody. Oh, hang on. So, but like in that one, the Rangers are like the elite force for that. It's like this weird future alien thing. Like it's so good. It's Lightspeed, but better. Because I loved Lightspeed for being like, wait, they're our first responder Rangers.
Like government issued Rangers. Yeah, it was so good.
Oh my gosh, I freaking loved. You know what? This is our segue. This is our segue into memory lane, because I have, and I'm sorry for the audio listeners. We'll explain this as best as we can, but this is why you have to watch. But the one and only Ranger Megazord I've ever owned, the Lightspeed Rescue
I'm not
Megazord.
gonna knock it out of your hand, even though it was strong.
I freaking love this. I mean, we've got an ambulance, we've got an excavator, we've got a hauler, I guess.
Wait a minute.
It's funny that the dump truck does become his ass, but we also have the fire truck, and then we've got the Green Ranger's jet plane
so this
here.
is basically Paw Patrol, the Power Ranger.
You know what? I'll let you have it, because yes, and Paw Patrol.
She had that one chambered, man.
Pretty much.
It's awesome.
But it's so good.
Wait,
And it produced the best Red Ranger of all time.
Of
just
all time,
broke your
it's
Zord.
fine. He's got to lose weight.
Carter Grayson was the best.
I love that
he was
boy.
quintessential Red to me. You know, like I mean, I can take my nostalgia goggles off. I know Jason and Tommy are on another level as far as that goes.
Of course.
But Carter Grayson was the best Red Ranger. In my view.
I'm not even just thinking about them though. I'm thinking of Jack from SPD.
He was amazing.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
I freaking like I will agree with you on a lot of the like acting writing of that Disney era. Because especially SPD. I think SPD was really like it kept getting better. SPD's the peak and then started going down for me.
I will agree.
Okay. Well, there you go. So
Agreement.
it's the combination of well written and all of that.
Except for RPM. RPM was fucking amazing. Sorry.
Everybody gets one.
Kev hasn't used his yet.
I haven't used mine ever.
No, you
That's
haven't.
true. You
And
have
I'm
been
proud of you, baby boy.
You have been the goodest boy. In fact, that's had one of our friends convinced that this is just you. And God bless him. He listened. Yeah, he listened to an episode of your podcast, which everyone should do. But just know it's not like it's the grading system, right? We're PG-ish.
Yep.
And then we go straight to X with Force Losers.
That's right.
It's the only two you need.
This is me containing myself.
Right.
I know. And you're doing so good.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome, buddy. Get back in your cage.
So yes. So there's your brief-ish history. If you cut out all the parts where we went on tangents, it's probably a 5-minute conversation.
That's the meat and potatoes, baby.
Exactly.
But now to open the can, I've done it as I mentioned. I had this sitting here in the wings waiting because that's the thing. Like I have
on a Gundam.
I have not really had a lot of Power Rangers stuff. That's the biggest thing for me. Like when the Lightning Collection started really bolstering its roster of figures with not just the classics, but just all over the spectrum of Power Ranger series, that really speaks to me because we joke a lot of times, Boop and I, like that we buy our childhoods. In some ways it's true. In some ways it is just a joke. It's just an excuse to buy things we like. But with Power Rangers especially, that's the missed opportunity I'm buying back. You talk about TMNT all the time.
Yes, I do.
But that's Power Rangers for me. Like I loved this and did not have anything to show it. Like I really didn't. In fact, the one thing I have had and the longest lasting piece of Power Rangers merch.
Is that the McDonald's one?
That is the McDonald's one.
Holy shit!
You got yourself.
Good job, buddy.
Do you want to tell what do you want to, because you love reminding people of what I used to do in my spare childhood time.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's adorable that you were a trash boy, that you would just go into dumpsters and look for toys.
You dumpster driving?
I did. So
and it netted you an awesome White Ranger figure.
Look what happened.
For real. And I have washed it. I did do that immediately, but like I struck gold. Like my first Nerf gun came from a dumpster out behind our projects. This came from that same dumpster. I wait, like my bus stop was like a block from it. And so I would always leave early from my house. Like the most efficient I've ever been is when I was dumpster diving, because I would leave early. I'd have my stuff together because I would know to go when it was full, but not about to get picked up. And I'd just go through everybody's stuff, see what they threw out that I wanted. And that was me. I took it to school, washed it in the washroom at school.
You just did a quick
yeah. And so this is why I'm grateful, because now nearly, well, for me, 28 years later, I have the Lightning Collection White Ranger up there posed beautifully. It can do more than just
I don't know.
it's like this is me in 5 years with my like geriatric mobility. But, like,
arthritic joints and
You said
everything.
it right.
Right now.
Yeah.
Dang it.
I knew for a fact that you have been saying it wrong this entire time just to piss me off. And you just said it right.
I don't know what you're talking
And I
about.
feel so justified.
Kev, make sure you take care of me when I'm geriatric, okay?
We'll do.
I was
You know,
about to use mine.
it's funny because like I had a very similar experience to you. Like when I was growing up, around the time Power Rangers was blowing up, like I come from a very working class family. You know, when I first saw Power Rangers, like, oh, I want to get into martial arts, and my mom was like, yeah, right. We can't afford classes. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, I want to buy this Zord toy. Right. Here's the $5 figurine. That's what you get for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, I remember. Oh wow, this is triggering a memory. Oh wow.
Ooh,
Okay.
fresh off.
I had to have been like 6 or 7. There was this kid in my class. He was a foreign exchange student from Germany. And for some odd reason, I got to go over to this kid's house for like a play date or something. We went go up to this kid's room, and he's got every Zord you can imagine. He's got the Megazord, the Dragon Zord. He's like just got a plethora of Power Rangers toys. And I'm like, I'm never leaving your house. I hope you know that. I live here now.
Right.
You know, das Friend.
Right.
And
We are family.
yeah, and then it was such like a shock because I go back home and I've got like my Red Ranger figurine that does the spinny head thing,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm like, I just got to be happy with this. But I'm also with you in the sense that now that I'm an adult, there's no one to tell me no, except for my wife, right?
Love her.
And it was. Well, it was last Christmas, and I told her all I want for Christmas is a Dragon Dagger because the Lightning Collection had the Dragon Dagger. I'm like, I never got to have the Dragon Dagger when I was a kid. That's all I want. And she's like, I'm not getting you that because my wife has this frustrating but also really smart thing where she only buys you gifts that you will actually utilize. She will retain information for a whole 365 days. And on Christmas, when you open something up, she's like, you remember that time you needed that? And you're like, you're right. You got it.
Yep. Utility
And-
gifters, they're a blessing
Exactly.
and a curse.
Exactly. So the last gift she gives me last Christmas was this long box. And I'm like, oh, cool. What's this? I open up one side. I see the lightning and I'm like, you didn't. And she did. And that now sits proudly on my shelf. Except when I have to use it to call Mechagodzilla, which I'm sorry for whoever's yard got trampled.
Right.
It's
Well,
fine.
Boop did me a solid like that. A couple of years ago, like there was a collector's pin set that
Yes,
was
they
all the
did do
morphers
that.
of all the originals, including
Oh, nice.
I'm a
the
good
White Ranger,
partner.
and it comes in a box that is shaped like the original morpher too. So it's
Oh.
just like doubly awesome. It sits at the back of my Power Ranger shelf, so you can see it nicely, right
Wonderful.
between my Lightspeed Megazord and my Lost Galaxy Megazord. Because again, like that, like I see stuff like that, and I'm just like, this was my favorite Power Ranger series, and I had nothing to show for it, and now I can just buy this in Walmart now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I'm like, oh my, like, it's so amazing.
I feel so bad for people that I see like in our friend group.
Milk Daddy.
There's less of them, but also like on TikTok and on Twitter. That's the thing is like I know how much this stuff means to you.
Mhm.
I know how much you wanted it as a kid, and I know how I feel when I want to get like a TMNT figure and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm never gonna tell you like, no, that's stupid. Don't buy that.
Right.
Because I want you to have that stuff too.
Yeah, you're absolutely a nostalgia enabler. And here's the thing,
Yes.
on record, all right? So there's plenty of people that God bless them, like want to get me things and don't know what to do, and so they just walk the Star Wars aisle at any
It's
generic
true.
establishment. I guarantee
Sometimes it's
you,
pencils.
if it's still on the shelf at Walmart, I have that Star Wars thing. Okay? Like, I love you, but I need you to turn around, look at the Power Rangers section, and literally pick anything.
It's true.
Oh, I know.
Literally
is-
pick anything.
It is my life goal as a 34-year-old man to assemble my own Green Ranger costume and then live in it. I'm going to work in it. I'm going to the bank in it. I'm going to the grocery store in it. I'm going to use the John in it. It's going to smell terrible, but I'm going to commit myself to it.
That's
It's
your
okay.
life.
Yeah.
You'll have one part of you that's the Brown Ranger, but the rest will be pristine.
Mhm. Yep. Go power skid marks.
This is the best podcast of all time.
I know. I'm
So,
always here to lower the bar, guys.
oh my gosh.
Can't read
Ooh.
that.
Boop needs to
Yes. I've seen them. Nick, I've seen them.
seen the light.
Well,
Oh,
Anyway,
have I seen them?
piggybacking on the TMNT thing,
sure.
Power Rangers gave us probably one of the best crossovers ever with In Space
Very true.
with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I blew someone's mind.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay. I'm glad you added mine at the
I
end
gotta work
there.
on my dramatic pauses, but you know what I mean. All right, hold with me because they had not heard of Saban's hit classic that is TMNT: The Next Mutation.
Oh boy.
And so we were just talking about that stuff, and I was like, 3 movies in a show, and they were like, "You mean the cartoon?" I was like, "No, sir, 3 movies and a live action show." I
did.
know, I was there.
And a musical tour.
That's true.
That is true.
But that brings up a good point in that
Special.
Power Rangers in Space had a lot of epic stuff like that. Not
Oh,
only
yeah.
like the TMNT crossover, but their Red Ranger got to show up in Lost Galaxy.
Mhm.
There was a lot going on with that. The Psycho Rangers, excuse
on.
me.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh my!
Like if I had to say who was my like top Red Ranger, it would be Andros. You know why? Because on episode 1, this guy had the stones to show up at a villainous dinner get together and punk all of them out
Yeah.
on his own. Like the brass balls on that guy that he could then levitate. He could levitate things. Like, come on.
Bro was special.
Yeah,
He
I'm telling
he
you.
was he was definitely a new version of Red Ranger, for that show.
Mhm.
At first he was, it took him a bit to become like team player, but he
Oh,
was
yeah.
very much like, a solo act
Yeah.
with 4 Rangers as, as backup, so to speak.
Well,
Yeah,
and
he was great.
but that was an interesting dynamic too, because there was a weird thing with him and the Blue Ranger, because TJ was the
My
carryover
guy.
from Turbo into Power Rangers
my
in
guy.
Space. And so
Yeah,
it's
TJ
like,
doesn't get enough credit.
oh
He-
no,
Well, I
bruh.
mean, no, he doesn't, and he should. I can't. If you can imagine why he's a favorite of mine. I mean, he's the first Black Red Ranger, so I was
Right.
very happy to see them do that. So Selwyn Ward, like I was like, that's my guy right there. I did not like the fact that he became blue at first, and I'm like, no, he's where he's at, and he's a good fit where he's at. I wanted him to be Black Ranger in there, but I know they weren't going to do that whole thing again with Zach.
Yeah.
Like,
I wonder
because
why.
the Japanese counterpart, Mega Ranger, Mega Black, was Red Ranger, Mega Red, and Mega Ranger was, which is like I said, the counterpart to In Space. he was an idiot. He was a goofball. Heroic at times, but he was a jagoff. Whereas Mega Black was like, head of student council. He was, like he was the de facto leader, the strongest one, that sort of thing. He had a stick up his, but he was a great leader, and that's what I was hoping that TJ would get that part, but they gave it to Carlos, and that still didn't make any sense to me. But
But I mean, he got the respect in Forever Red,
absolutely.
right? They brought him back as the Red Turbo Ranger in that, and like he's such an underrated Ranger, and I get it. Like the transition from the OG team into the new Turbo Rangers was a bit of a adjustment.
It was a bit of a flop. The movie was but I will say I really did enjoy Turbo. Like it had a good cast.
The series or the movie?
The series. And that always stuck with me was I liked the cast, even if it was just like, it was one of those, like, I like watching these people do the thing. I don't necessarily like the thing, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
And that's
I mean,
probably why, but nonetheless, TJ's carryover into Space was a big deal for me. And there was a lot of character stuff in space that happened too.
Oh yeah, like I mean the Zordon era, right, as it's called,
Yeah.
like those seasons need to be given more credit for the transitions,
Mhm.
right? Like the way that season 3 of Mighty Morphin transitioned into the often forgotten Alien Rangers, quick
Yeah,
little.
let's forget about that.
I was gonna say rightly so. Rightly
yeah,
so.
yeah. But then
Let's-
how that transitions into Zeo was so like hype. The way they went from that into Zeo was so
Zeo
hype.
saved everything that Alien Morphers did, I will
Yeah.
say. Like that was
Oh
the
yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Um,
and then like from
Alien
the transition from Zeo to Turbo didn't make any sense because I'm like, what happened to the Zeo powers? Like,
They're
why did those?
and that's the thing, like they're still around
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, didn't the Boom Comics did something with that even?
to a degree,
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't know if you read Power Rangers 100 this week that came out.
I didn't, not that one yet. Okay, well, I know what I'm doing after this. Thanks, Comixology.
Yeah, I need to get on that already.
Yeah,
I
you need to,
really
buddy.
hope that they start to transition from the Mighty Morphin stuff, because they've I think they've done all they can with that, and it's been an amazing job. But I think it's time to move on to Zeo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like absolutely.
I agree. And then from the transition from Turbo to In Space, brilliant.
Yeah, well, and yeah, to your point, like you would think by looking at the surface level, looking at the titles, looking at the cast, looking at just a general overview of what goes on series to series, that eventually Mighty Morphin just ends and the next thing happens if you don't know Power Rangers. But for a long time, they were really making a consecutive story. For years, they kept that going. 6 different series, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like it was incredible, and the movie was a curveball, but even that, like if you do just go by the shows and the movie's a fun ride on the side,
Exactly.
it's pretty well handled. It's not until if I believe so, Lost Galaxy, that it starts the one season one off kind of series.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of why like Lost Galaxy is such a thing for me, is because it was the first new thing. Everything else was new, but handling the same story. This was completely like, all right, we're going Sword in the Stone. We're going like ancient powers. Like, I mean, I just love that series. You talk about like a Red Ranger. For me, it's Leo. I love the whole brother stuff with Leo and Mike. Magna Defender is my sixth Ranger.
Great arc.
I love
man.
Tommy. But
It's a
man,
great arc. Yeah.
It's the whole going to hell and coming back thing for me, where I'm just like, yep, he wins.
Yeah.
and Lost Galaxy is the first season that took more story points from the Sentai, from Gingaman, like that like they took, like, granted, like, all right, so yeah, in this one, Red, the Red, and I keep forgetting their names in that series, but the Red at that point was the older brother, and then the same thing that happened with Mike happened with this Red Ranger. So they took all that,
Okay.
like, so that that was paralleled, and then the whole thing with Magna Defender, like, and having Mike inhabit his body and everything, that's the same thing that they did in this series. So I was like, I watched Gingaman before Lost Galaxy. There's always a year, like there's the Sentai series, and then a year later would be the Ranger series that
At least.
counterpart.
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm watching and just looking for story, just story connections and everything. I'm like, oh, they're on point with this. I like this.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I like that they kept that aspect of it in there. Granted, everything else was changed, because I mean, they're on Terra Venture, out in space, all that kind of stuff. But whereas Gingaman is very much nature-based, earth-based and nature-based. But yeah, I love that, they, from that point on, you saw a lot more taken from Sentai, because it was almost like unrecognizable, and not so much in a bad way, because they had to do what they had to do with the footage, like going from Mighty Morphin, Jew Ranger, then Die Ranger for the for the second season. Then they butchered my favorite Sentai with Kaku Ranger for that third season of, anyway. O Ranger with Zeo and Car Ranger, Turbo, and all that stuff. This is the first time that they really started to bring a lot of the story arcs from
Well, I
from
think
Sentai,
at that
which
point,
to me were just like, I think at that point the Sentai stuff blew Rangers out of the water as far as story goes, as far as writing goes.
Right.
And
right.
I'm glad that they, at that point they started to bring that in there.
Well, and that was like I think at some point you recognize with at now 6 shows in and the Twister show that it is trying to make things connect and work. Like at some point, it's just easier to try and stick to the source material.
Yeah,
like
right.
you're given a complete show. You just have to cut and insert your parts.
Yeah.
If you can make it mostly work, make it mostly work. And so even if it's just little elements like that. And so for anyone else, if you need another reason to watch this, and almost every series is streamable. Magnet Defenders basically Spawn,
Yeah.
like it's
He is. He is.
yeah, like his whole role in that is Spawn's entire backstory basically.
But is there a
Yeah.
defiler?
Well,
Well,
I mean, he wasn't made from hell or anything like
No,
that.
like
He was
he-
like his own.
I mean, technically there's a defiler in Turbo though.
That's true.
Listen. So my experience
Hmm.
in listening to you guys talk about shows that I've never seen personally is just very confusing, and every so often I'm just like, oh,
Because your whole
I know
thing
some of these words.
is Mighty Morphin.
100% is.
Yeah.
And
Hey, if it ain't broke.
exactly.
I remember I've shown you because I think it was
You've
the
shown
first.
me the first episode of Lost
I
Galaxies.
think it was when I was scrolling and found it, and I was
Yeah.
like, I need you to experience
And you
this.
showed me a picture of the cop dog,
I did that mostly for the wow factor.
and it worked because, geez Louise,
look, listen. I've already said SPD is great. SPD is great, but
does ACAB extend to Power Rangers?
no,
That
because
was one of
they
the times where the Ranger show was better than the Sentai, and that's SPD.
and you know what? Our cops could learn something. SPD should be mandatory training material at this
And
point.
Paw Patrol.
Yeah,
And Paw
but
Patrol.
Except don't be A Squad. They
But
got to
then-
be B Squad because A Squad is just nothing but
Oh,
A holes, like
just a
just all the way.
bag
but
of
then
dinguses.
then the idea of cops that have morphers is terrifying.
Oh, absolutely.
It's terrifying. We can't even trust them with cameras.
Again,
like-
No, we cannot.
watch Psycho Ranger arc of Power Rangers in space.
That's what it
That's
is.
what you would get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No.
It's like, oh
it-
God, can you imagine like a too real for real 2022 Power Ranger series where there's like SPD and then there's evil SPD, and it's just,
you might get your wish. We don't know what they're cooking up over there.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so memory lane. Let's venture down that a
Yes.
little bit. We've obviously been gushing about Power Rangers. This is how amazing this is, and we're doing this 30 years after the craziness began.
Oh yeah.
For some of us, we were wee babbies.
Mhm.
Did I not put mine in here? I did not. You can check Twitter for that. If you want to see proof that I was not born an old man, that's on Twitter. Little J Dub
Wow.
at the Wally World meeting
Probably
the Red Ranger.
pull it up on my phone.
And so that was a day. And
Oh yeah.
what was funny is finding out that me and Kev,
That's me.
yeah, we shared that Power
Look
Ranger
at the
PJ set.
beautiful ornate tile work on that crusty.
Look at that. My goodness.
Oh yes,
Look at the shoes.
HGTV stuff right here.
Goodness gracious.
But yeah,
Up there on the
uh,
bookshelf, that was all of my mom's chicken soup for the soul. It was cringe.
so now Kev, what was this? Was this Halloween? for
This was
you?
Halloween. This was
Okay.
Halloween. That was either 93 or 94. I want to say it was 94.
Okay,
I want to say.
so early on in there,
I was in college.
little
Yeah.
baby Kev.
Yeah,
So,
and that mask was awful.
Oh,
it was
for sure.
awful.
For sure. It's funny seeing like we were in I mentioned we were spent in Spirit Halloween today. And so like to see the comeback of like retro masks, I'm like, this sucks. Like what come on.
No, man. Go.
We live in the
go.
day and age of Black Series.
Yeah,
my
we could do
guy.
better.
Now that's a different story. Those are
I love
actually-
it. I love it.
With
So-
your arms reach at any time.
For context, if you find it on Twitter,
Sorry, you're
that
good,
was
boy.
2020. If you find it, that was during the press junket for Turbo.
Mhm.
They just basically called people and were like, "Hey, can you be at these places and dress up and just meet people?"
Yep.
It was just to promote, "Hey, a movie's coming out."
Yep.
And so I remember, I grabbed my Power Ranger PJs and my mom took me to Walmart, and best day of my life.
If you can make
Yep.
us big, I can see if we can.
It was amazing. I mean,
I've got it.
oh,
Yeah.
Put it right there to the camera.
yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Ooh, ring light, you betray me.
Hello.
No.
And it's also dark.
Well, we
Just go
don't
on
understand
Twitter.
We saw it for a
technology.
microsecond and it was adorable.
Technology.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, little baby J-Dub. Before we go, because Chris, you've got quite a slideshow. Before we go there, though, a recent and late edition, but from one of your very own, from the Shooting the Poodoo, from Claire.
Yeah.
We have
Hey.
Cutie patootie.
So,
Right on.
this little baby J-Dub picture I shared, and Claire shared this with me, and mentioned that, so her and her friends, she had a buddy that would just text them, it's morphin time, and they would wear matching shirts that day if they got the text, and I just thought that was so adorable.
That's awesome.
If I had friends, we would definitely have done that.
Excuse you.
In the past, I have like 2 friends now.
Excuse
The
you.
future is wow.
Well, if Chris can make the list if he stops talking about Michael Bay Transformers so much.
Wow.
I have the sneaking suspicion that's not going to stop.
No, it's not.
okay.
I'd rather not talk about those movies. I'd rather not. I'd rather they just didn't exist. Let me stop. I'm sorry.
You don't have to watch them, buddy.
I know, not anymore.
So you've got a few to tell us about. Now I don't know if all of these, they didn't seem like they might have all been from the same one, Chris, but let's start here with
that's
Mr.
awesome.
David. And David Youst here.
Yeah.
What was going on with this one?
Ooh, I forgot the name of this. It's like the Greater Philadelphia Comic-Con or something like that. And me and a friend heard that we were going there for different reasons, but like a buddy of mine wanted to go for such and such. I was like, Yost is going to be there. I want to go. I want to meet some of the OGs. So
absolutely.
Yeah, got to meet him. Cool dude. So chill, so down to earth and whatnot. We had a nice little conversation. Cool guy.
That's awesome. He seems like it. Like,
yeah.
This is from today. Like we mentioned, Hasbro mentioned their 30th anniversary reunion. Now this is just Zach and Billy featured here. I don't know if it's just going to be them returning or what, but this is right now in New Zealand.
Yep.
Look at the wrist.
I know, dude. I know. I'm like, man, this is now. And here's the thing. I love Adam. Like Johnny Rosh is amazing.
Fantastic.
He's just amazing. He's got many other things to be amazing at. Zach is the Black Ranger. Zach is the Black Ranger.
Hands down. And like, good for Walter Jones. I mean, he still looks 20. Like,
my God, yes,
crack, bro.
Man,
Black don't crack.
I'm telling, like, this guy is blessed. It's like he hasn't aged a day. Everyone's talking about like Keanu Reeves, the vampire. Walter Jones is a vampire.
Because need I remind you, folks at home, this is 30 years later, and he was not a teenager, despite what the show would have you believe when this began. So, seems amazing. What I love about this is what I loved about when Ahmed got to come back in with the fold of Star Wars and everything. It's just like, what seemed like missed opportunities with folks just growing beyond these things or just altogether dropping them. Them coming back in such a grand way is a new opportunity to be a kid again with those kinds of things. For folks not as lucky as Chris to have met 3 of the originals. At least as far as you've shared with us, you can do that now. More than likely, they're still around because this is still a thriving franchise of just coolness.
And like I might be outside my wheelhouse here, but like you might be able to thank conventions for this because
Absolutely.
these actors, I guarantee you for a certain period of time, we're like, I don't want to talk about Power Rangers, man. That was like 10, 20 years ago. I don't want to talk about it, right?
Mm.
But then they go to these conventions. Someone cuts them a very nice check and says, hey, you should come here and meet some people.
Yes.
And like at first, yeah, it's like, hey, that's a really nice check. I have a mortgage too, right?
Yeah.
And then they show up to these conventions and they get inundated with people like us who have nothing but amazing stories to tell them about how pivotal this thing you did is or was to my development as a person, and how much it means to them. And then like that's got to engender like, okay, you know what? It's okay to embrace this again. It's okay to come back to this. And
absolutely.
And as long as Saban's willing to cut some more checks, yeah, I'll show up on the show.
Bro,
I'll fly to New Zealand.
Amy Jo was like, I'm never talking about this, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then she saw how Jason Frank and those guys are doing a convention. She's like, oh, so Power Rangers.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Who wants to talk about it? Anyone?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of talking about it, Chris, why don't you talk about this one?
This came about like, it was very weird. His reps gave our shop a call and said, hey, Austin St. John's going to be in town and want to have him come to your shop. So I'm like, oh no, how much is this going to cost? And the guy's like, it's nothing. I was like, oh, then let's set something up. Let's do it right now.
Good Lord. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. So he came through. All right. So him and JDF have had like a thing. They've had like a bit of beef and whatnot. And going from what Jason David Frank was saying, had me thinking that dude was a piece of poodoo. And couldn't have been a nicer dude. Like I think I got along way more with him than I ever did when I met Jason Frank. There's something about meeting your heroes.
We'll talk about that in a second. So now this brings up an interesting question because obviously with Mighty Morphin, and speaking of not big checks, there were cash changes for the film and into the later seasons.
Embarrassingly so.
For those that did notice, I mean, particularly so obviously my picture is me and my Red Ranger PJs. For you, Kev, it's your Red Ranger Halloween costume. So like from the originals, who was your Red Ranger? I mean, having two to choose from, were you a Jason fan all along or what?
I don't know. I don't know if I was ever really like a huge fan of Jason. I enjoyed Rocky. Rocky had a sense of humor,
Yeah,
Jason was a little too straight-laced for me, took himself a little too seriously. He needed to take a load off, but Rocky, it was fun, Rocky, like especially like the movie, the 94 movie was huge for me, right? It was like one of the early experiences I had in a movie theater. And one of the things that I love to this day is like the banter between Rocky and Adam. They just had that chemistry. You know?
Well, and I'm thinking of when they're fighting the golems and everything, especially.
Yes, exactly.
Like, the quips were flying.
Exactly. So, I mean, I would probably say of like the original, I'd probably go with Rocky. I mean, it might not be the most popular pick, but I'd probably go with Rocky.
That's fair. Did you have a lean either way, Chris? Red Ranger.
I was, oh man, that's a tough one because they're so completely different, those two characters. Whereas Jason was he was like, the front man, the leader, like he was a guy, everything rests on his shoulders, so to speak. Whereas Rocky, like, and this is again coming from me watching the show, not just from a Sentai standpoint, but from a martial artist standpoint. Steve Cardenas was a more limber, just had better fight scenes as far as I'm concerned. So I really dug watching his fight scenes. But it's tough for me. It's like trying to pick a Star Wars movie. It's tough for me to pick like which one. I think they're both fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So
Like,
yeah, I can't choose. I suck. I can't choose.
no. Well,
That's fine.
that's one of the good things about no matter how the cast change came about for crappy reasons. Screw you, Saban,
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Um,
They
the good thing is the job went to good people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, it is one of those instances where it's like it didn't feel like because of some business tycoons buttholery that the show suffered for it. They
Right.
were still able to get good talent for all of it. Like I said, I'm a big Johnny fan myself. Like, I mean, adding in Rocky and Adam for me were huge. I really loved it, and so like
Oh
for
yeah.
me, it's Rocky.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you knew that,
No, I did not. I
which is surprising.
I
Because,
didn't know the difference
uh,
for the longest time.
so for 14 years, I had an ornery old dog.
Wait a minute, I just made a connection.
Yes, who was named after my favorite ranger at the time,
Oh,
Rocky.
Rocky.
And
Ah.
so,
He was so old and
yeah,
so rude.
when like I'd never had a dog, and that was my mom's thing. She got me a dog, and instantly I was like, "Oh, it's Rocky." Like
Right.
I was just all in on that. I'm just like, "It's Rocky. That's the best name ever. He's so cool." Like I was just in it. So
He was a special boy.
yeah, he was ornery. He was always ornery. I will say though, Zio saved Jason for me. I never had a
Oh
problem
yeah.
with Jason, but he got better when he got to be his own independent ranger, I
I
think.
agree entirely. I
And,
agree
and Zio
entirely.
did a lot of good stuff. I think to kind of loosen the laces, but also build on. No, he is probably the more solid one. The one making the greater embrace maybe of this new power and responsibility.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
like let's not give Jason credit where the credit's due. When he was the Gold Ranger, he was literally using powers that were killing him.
Mm.
Like it was too powerful for him.
It was,
You know,
my gosh, and then I mean, his Zord is a pyramid.
it's a
Like
pyramid.
I like,
It's a loading bay. It's just like everyone can get into the pyramid.
bruh, that
Yeah.
like you have no like. Oh my gosh, when I was trying to explain this to my mother why I needed this of just like it holds the other ones. Like
Exactly.
I was just like, oh my god.
She's like, a
Exactly.
box can do that. Why you need him in there?
Just like fold a box, paint it
Exactly.
yellow. It's the same thing.
Yeah, there you go. Boom.
That's the equivalent of like I can make you a hamburger at home. We can get McDonald's at home.
I specifically remember making an argument about geometry because if you know anything about Zio, all right, their thing is shapes.
Yep.
All right. They're specifically categorized by their shapes. Red's a star. You've got the Yellow Rangers. That's the two cylinders. You've got the triangle for blue. Like you've got the circle for pink. Like their whole thing was that. And I remember being like, Mom, I don't know a circle from a square. I need Zio in my life.
That is 100%.
That is
a
low key
Jacob
clever
classic.
as hell. Okay.
Oh
Like,
my god.
I need Power Rangers Zeo to help me excel at geometry.
right.
And
Like
I can just hear your mom's voice saying, "Yeah, right."
I was desperate. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but Zeo was a toy maker's dream. Like, how many different Zords did they have in that
Well,
that
and
season?
yeah, and that's the thing. Well, they had 3, right?
Like they had the red Zeo like Battleizer one. They had the OG Zeo Zords. Then
Yeah,
they had like
the
the
Egyptian one.
yeah, like
and
the
then they had
Mega
shape.
Zeo Zord. Like
Yeah, the
Billy
Zeus
was
Zord. Then they had
busy.
the wheel.
Yeah, the spinning wheel.
Oh my god. Yes.
And I think Auric kind of counts.
Yeah.
I'll give you
Like
that
it
one.
was just nonstop. Like here's the next toy your mom's gonna waste money on.
Yeah.
Dude, that I'd forgotten about the yo-yo one, man. That
Mhm.
one.
There were
Oh
so
my
many
gosh.
Zords.
Yeah.
It's like, did Billy sleep at all? Because
Well-
like presumably he built those things.
But that reminds me of like Wild Force, man.
Mhm.
Where it's like everything was so you had the original 5, right? And then every orb you got was a new
30.
Zord.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, you want to trade out the Yellow Rangers for something?
Yeah.
Trade it out for a shark,
Yeah.
right? You you could mix and match. You can build multiple Zords. It was insane.
Oh, yeah.
With Wild Force, we just don't talk about it much because that Red Ranger sucks.
Mm. Yeah.
That actual horrible person.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
the dumbest Red Ranger.
Just don't talk about it.
So dumb. I'm sorry.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, Jason David Frank, Chris.
Yeah.
I've heard stories.
Yeah.
All right. So and I'm pretty sure Mike Roger from Shooting the Poodoo is he just texts me because he's upset that everyone's picking Rocky for the Red Ranger. He's a little upset about
Okay,
Rogue,
we
calm down.
I picked Jason, just not for Red Ranger. Okay,
Right.
Rogue? Like,
Right. He doesn't care. He's
Put away your caps.
he is so focused. But yeah, listen, all right. So Jason Frank, like I said, yeah, he's still like my favorite Ranger of all time. Jason Frank got me into martial arts because like seeing these fight scenes, it made me want to do these fight scenes. It got me into filmmaking. From there, it got me to make my first martial arts web series called Fighters High. And I threw in all kinds of little Easter eggs and like the story points, like just to show respect for him. Like the name of the school is JD Oliver High School. So I took like his first two initials. I took the last name of the character, and that's the name of the high school. All that kind of stuff. Like I said, he was my inspiration for all that. You know, like I read up on him and him starting his own martial arts style called Toso Kundo. Just everything he's done with his schools and all that kind of stuff. And like I was expecting him when he was done with Rangers, I expected him to be like this big martial arts superstar, and he didn't go that way. And you know, shit happens, stuff happens. Oh, I'm so sorry. And then I met him.
Break my heart.
Never meet your heroes. You know, like the first I met him twice. The first time was okay. I was nervous, and I was like low-key trying to get him onto my show that I was working on at that point, you know, because I just wanted him like to be the principal, something you know, in the show. And then when I really got my show off the ground, we did a panel at a comic convention in Philly. And a friend of mine got him to come to our panel, which I thought was awesome. I was like, this is amazing. I finally get him in some capacity into, like, you know, to be a part of Fighters High in some way, to you know, to see the show.
Yeah.
He walks up. My friend directs him to me. He makes zero eye contact. He's like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm glad to meet you. Good luck with your show," or something like that. Boom. That was it. No eye contact, nothing. He, you know, met some of the cast and all that kind of stuff. We took some pictures, and you could tell. I wish I could find this picture. Give me a sec. I'll find it. This he and Mike Roker has not been a fan of his, you know, to this day, because he was there as well, because he was a part of the show. He did not want to be there, like at all. You could see it in his expression, and that just like, you know, I look at it and I'm like happy that he was there, but I'm like, oh
yeah,
broke my heart, because he was like, I don't want to be here. Like, you know, that kind of sucked. Yeah, so yeah, that's one of those, you know, don't meet your hero kind of things. I don't mean to talk smack on the guy or anything like that. Maybe he was just having a bad day. Who knows? But
could be. I mean, it's a good opportunity. If you know, you're listening, you've had a different experience. First of all, be glad you had an experience, but feel free to share that. Like, it is one of those things where you never know what you're gonna get. It's hard to tell.
Yeah. And good on you for having the stones to actually meet people of dubious note, because I don't do it. I turn into an absolute mess. I become unintelligible. I don't know how to comport myself whatsoever.
Oh, I was not smooth.
No. It's bad. It's like I one time I met Zach Wilde, and it was at Ozfest, and he was a huge, like, I was really into his stuff, and I learned so many different techniques to play, and I'm in line to meet him, and I'm like, I get the cold sweats, because I'm like, I to this day I don't remember what I'd said to him. I have no memory of what I said to this man, none whatsoever. I got a signature on my vest, and that was it. The only thing I remember is my dad was behind me in line, and he was talking to him. He's like, "Yeah, my son plays guitar." And Zach said something like, "Don't make sure he keeps practicing." And I was like, "He's talking about me, right?" And like to this
Oh my
day,
gosh.
like I actively, if I go to like a show, I actively avoid meeting anybody. I become aggressively polite, right? Like aggressively polite. I remember I saw you've heard of the band Exodus, JW, yeah?
Yeah.
Exodus. So
Yes.
I saw the guitar player Gary Holt walk out of a show one time. We were watching him play. He walks out, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Holt, thanks for coming and playing for us." And he's like, "Oh man, thank you for showing up." And I was like, "No, thank you." I get like aggressively polite. So I'm just like, you know what? I don't need to
That's
be in this
adorable.
situation ever again.
I really want to go to a ghost show with you and watch you get Circe'd and just be thanking Tobias Forge the entire time.
It's bad.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
real.
I love you.
Right.
Yeah, no, like there's a reason
Aggressive communion with Papa.
That's exactly why. Like we went to go see Devin Townsend a few years ago, and there was a chance to maybe meet him, and I was like, no, I'm not doing it because
Yeah, after our recent conversation about Devin,
Yeah.
Oh.
How do I distill the fact that your music was the soundtrack to my growth and development as a human being? I'm just gonna wave from you from afar and be like, hey, thanks. You know.
Well,
no.
And I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole, but you know what? Screw it. It's Nerd Herder.
We are the rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. That put that on a shirt. But on that topic, I had the duality of that experience at Celebration, right? So there were a couple of instances where it's just like I'm perfectly fine, and then I see them, right? When it was Freddie Prinze Jr.
We both just stopped when we saw Freddie Prinze Jr.
When it was James Arnold Taylor, right? Like these people, like once you're in their presence, it just changes.
Dave Filoni.
I was for you, yeah. Like I was gonna say, Boop is you, Kev, in those instances when they met Dave Filoni, that was amazing. And I remember because
everything
it was like
stopped.
I pushed you into it because it's like this is on the show floor, right? This isn't a he was
just walking around.
We got to meet this is we found Dave Filoni situation.
We saw the cowboy hat.
Yeah. And so it's like no, there's no waiting. You go or you don't go. Like it's And so
my heart stopped for a minute, and I asked him to stop killing clones, and he didn't.
So there was plenty of oh my god moments.
Right.
And then I remember the best experience I think I had because it was the most normal one was being in the art exhibit there in Chicago and looking at something, and all of a sudden next to me is Phil Tippett, and we're just looking at art and talking about it together, and then it's just like, holy cow, dude, I love your work. Like you did one of my favorite scenes in stop motion in Empire Strikes Back. Like that is amazing. It was just so casual. It didn't have the time to be daunting. I don't know.
Right.
It was just so interesting. Catching people in the wild is a whole different thing than having that waiting in line. The build up. If that makes sense.
Exactly. Like it's just that's why I've never met Jason David Frank, and I don't want to because I don't want to. Oh, look at the face.
Oh my gosh.
Look at the face.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, that's just all right.
That's not the look, JDF. That's not the look, bud.
So that's one of those things that makes me feel better because recently, before summer, when I don't remember when it was, but me and my buddy Justice had plans to go meet JDF at our local comic shop. And the original, we were all set on the plans, and we were just gassing it up the whole time. We were just so looking forward to that because Justice can hold it the best of us here with Power Rangers, and especially from the martial arts side. And so we were both ready for that, and for whatever reason it canceled. And it's all right, we'll try and redo for next month. Something in me, I'm just no, I'm not. I'd built up so much that I was just it's gone. I can't get back to that place. Yeah. And I was I can't do it, buddy. I'm sorry. And Justice was super cool, but looking back, it's not the first time because there's a lot of fan stuff going on with him. like other projects that he's working on and everything. And so recently more stuff has been said that's very similar. It's nothing
Oh, really?
bad, but it's enough where it's just like, yeah, I'm okay missing that.
Now
Yeah,
I want
because
to
the
meet him
last-
so I can make it super
Wow.
awkward just to rectify that.
You know, I would say definitely do that, especially because like if you don't want to be there, if you're faking it around these people that are just trying to have a genuine interaction with you,
Exactly.
that's where you need a boop to come in and just like make like do like go full on Bender when he was a human, just walk up and like, you like grilled cheese?
Exactly. Sir,
know.
you were half of my bisexual awakening.
Exactly. And just make eye contact and do not break it.
Right.
Do not, and don't blink.
Where's
Don't-
Amy?
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh
And
my
just
God.
pull like don't pull a switchblade, but one of those switchblade combs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Very slowly. Just,
Exactly. That's how we're doing this.
I hear you
Isn't
met
it?
my friend Chris.
Yeah.
Do you
'Cause I-
remember? Because he remembers.
And I
Yeah.
remember too.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Would you
Oh
like
my
to know why they call
gosh.
me Boop?
Oh God. That's
Yeah.
never been more frightening. Oh. Well, wow. What more can we say? Power Rangers is
We
amazing.
didn't even talk about the movie. But
No.
yes, it is getting very late.
Well, yeah. So just I had that feeling when I used it for the thumbnail art. I was like, somebody's gonna think we're just talking about the movie and be
I was ready
disappointed.
to.
It'll be there, but I guarantee whenever we do, Christina from the Star Wars
Yes.
show is coming on for that
Ivan
one
Ooze supporter number 1.
because I've set out on a mission now. I'm like, I'm gonna get these Star Wars people to come on the show and not talk about anything Star
Absolutely
Wars.
not.
Save me a spot.
Pablo
I was like,
Hidalgo
oh
can
my
come on and
gosh.
talk about Transformers.
Exactly. It's like that's my goal
Phil
right there.
Tippett, Jurassic Park episode.
No, even better, Starship Troopers.
You
Starship
did
Troopers
Starship Troopers?
2. He directed the second one. Yes. Yeah, we're talking about that with Phil Tippett on the show at some point. It's a dream.
Yes.
It's gonna happen. I gotta make it happen.
Get freaking Kevin Scott on here to talk about Doctor Who.
Right? Get Sam
not?
Witwer on here to talk about his music.
Actually, yes, because it is very funky.
That's true. So, yes. So, Power Rangers, there you go. We can't cover everything, but I think we've covered a lot that's meaningful to us tonight. It's just crazy how much fun, how meaningful, and just how much longevity there is packed into this harebrained idea by some business tycoon. He saw
Absolutely.
an opportunity, he made it happen,
They
and
sold a lot of toys.
they sold a lot of
Yes,
toys.
you did.
And so,
Good for him.
really looking forward to, now through the channels of Netflix, Power Rangers is getting to live on. In fact, it's just into the new series.
Yeah,
And
up
so,
to date.
yep.
Mhm.
Part
So,
2 of season 2.
Yeah.
Fury. Yeah.
Yep.
so
And
you've
I
got
can't
new
wait for it to
shows, perfectly streamable. You've got the old shows, perfectly streamable. You've got comics. You've got video games.
Mhm.
And you've got tons of merch to choose from. So if
Yep.
you're not into Power Rangers, it's your fault at this point.
That's right.
Wow.
Right.
Things are about
Yeah.
to really expand, like, with this new direction that they're going, for their media. So yeah, it's about to get even more fantastic.
I
Yeah,
can't wait.
It's still
I
a
can't
fun
wait.
ride.
I can't wait. And if Netflix cancels anything, I will burn their offices down.
And if they pull a HBO Max, we revolt.
Yep. I
Oh
hope the
my
FBI is listening to that one because you know exactly who did it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the other thing I can't wait for is whatever you guys are doing next. And so before we promote
cute
and tease
segue.
what we're going to do next week on the show, Kev, why don't we start off with you with what's next? Have y'all dropped the titular episode yet?
No, the last episode we dropped was our first review of the first 3 episodes of Rings of Power. We're currently taking some time to revamp and rework some stuff. We're coming back to a live format, and that'll probably be for our Halloweener special.
Don't do it. It sucks.
No, it's awful.
Canceled.
No, we don't do it as well as some, but we do have fun with it. Especially again, shout out to those that always join us. It's always a fun time. We're gonna have fun without you, but if you're here, it's even more fun. So
That's true.
tune in live on Fridays. But if you check it out after, we love you too. But if you want folks that know how to do live shows well, and with an amazing roster to it as well, I'm talking about, of course, the Shooting the Poodoo Broaxium crew.
What?
Yes.
Chris, I'm interested in your Sunday show this week, buddy. I'm
Yeah.
the topic.
We're gonna talk about what mom's cooking. Broke said, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
got
that would have some hot takes as well, but
we're doing some hot takes. It's not. There's not going to be us like crapping on the franchise or anything like that. It's just
Sure.
like, some things that maybe we like to see or maybe didn't agree with or want to see fleshed out, that sort of thing. So I have one that's probably going to make people upset.
Good.
Look forward to it.
That's fair.
But I think it's a valid thought.
Well, and knowing you all, it doesn't come from a place of
Vitriol.
like clickbait or vitriol
No.
or toxicity.
Yeah.
Like
There's no laser eyes.
it's like
No.
it's a place of love for
Just
what
Dan
you
when he
have.
Transocean.
Dan?
There's plenty of laser eyes. That's why Roke always wears his sunglasses. But
Yeah.
True.
but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Always a good time watching you guys shoot the poodoo. It's always
Yeah, man.
fun.
Part of our Sunday routine.
Not just you're not doing any reviews of any Boom Power Rangers comics, but
No, and man, I've been kicking that idea around about
Do
doing
it.
that.
I'd be here for you if you did it. I don't know what that does to your giblets, but I'm the
Can we
offer's
not
there.
talk about
We'll
Chris's
talk. We'll
giblets?
talk. We'll talk. Maybe we could come together and do a little something.
Yeah, me and Kev will talk too about other stuff.
Yeah.
Off mic, the conversation is therapy. We're going to therapy.
Nothing normal at all. Everything weird.
Exactly.
No. But yeah, so be sure to check out our guests. They took a serious pay cut to be here tonight,
Give 'em a
so
kiss.
definitely
Wait.
check them out.
Wait, someone got paid?
What's this pay business you're talking about?
I got paid.
Boop, what are we talking about next week?
This Squishmallow.
Roll the footage.
Can you imagine what it's like to be an ace pilot?
I've got a mission for you.
Yes!
Find out who's loyal to the good guys and who isn't.
You can work on my team,
Get ready to be impressed.
but when it comes to your mission as a spy, I don't want anything to do with it.
This should be good.
Looks like there was a system here, but there's
No star.
Those planetoids. What could have done that?
Pirates!
Scramble the aces!
You need troops to protect your station, not racers.
First Order will provide all aerial security.
All racers are officially grounded.
Are you serious? We need a plan.
All remaining systems will bow to the First Order!
Let's blast some bucketheads.
Kazuda, if you can leave Castellon, join us.
Keep your head down until things cool off.
Damn!
The First Order has a way of making people disappear.
We are the Resistance now. And we're taking back the Colossus.
If you are not capable of dealing with them, then I will find someone who can.
They're everywhere. Entire planets are just giving up.
It's just like the Empire when I was a kid.
The resistance is proving to be stronger than we anticipated.
I got him!
We're good to go. Punch it!
Wow.
Great series.
We are remembering Resistance next week. I am so ready. I clocked it out. It's 14 and a half hours. If you have not watched it yet, it's 2 seasons. It's on Disney Plus.
Call me out like that.
Do it. it's amazing. It's such a great show, and we look forward to talking about just how great it is and how much we love it next week. I'm going to make you love it by next week. And so you can tune in then. But
Can't say what I'm thinking.
until then, thank you guys, Chris, Kev, for joining us for this one again.
Thanks for having me.
Be sure to check them out. Their credentials are in the bio, along with other important links. Remember, there's still charities you can support and fundraisers that you can put your dollars to or share with anyone able to. Friend of the show, Mel, with her hospital bills, Kentucky flooding in Puerto Rico due to Hurricane Ian. Ian. Whatever floats your goat. So yes, all of those things. We're talking about morals and lessons from people in tights. Put that to good use and check out the links in the description.
Good save, buddy.
And until
so good.
Next time, it's morphin' time.
Wait a minute. You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.